Subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss an update from First Post.
When I said, I joked that I was the most inauthentic person I know, and by that I mean in a way that I want to say, I want to give a positive value to inauthenticity. People are very hung up on authenticity, and I think it's a term that's used in some ways for quite dubious political ends. Some people belong properly, other people don't belong, and I come from a mixed background. I'm the child of migration, and I've hopped again. I've gone from the UK to the US. So I want to write for people who are like me, who have that complicated relationship to origins, and to say that that's not a lack, that's something very positive. In a way, I can say people like us, we don't have roots, we have aerials. We're receptive to the world around us, and that's a very good thing in the modern world. Generalizing about writers is always a bad idea, because writers have a million different ways of being writers. I mean, for myself, when I write fiction, it always comes out of a kind of personal obsession. There has to be some reason that I need to tell a particular thing, and to be honest, I just think it's dumb luck if it actually hits the mark with anybody else. I've been lucky in that the stories I've told have been interesting to other people, but that's in a way I write for myself firstly. Well, I mean, a social anthropologist, I mean, clearly that's a professional designation that I don't have. I'm no anthropologist by training. What they mean by that is that I like to look at how people behave, and I like to look at how social structures actually are composed of individual people, and how I mean, that is one of the jobs of a novelist. I'd say that was a good description of a million novelists. This is an extraordinary festival, and it is a festival where I always meet fascinating people, and actually I always make friends. And in the last few years, I haven't spent so much time in India. I have a young family, and I've had few opportunities to come here. So I'm really here to reconnect with India, with Indian audiences, and to in a way take the temperature of the country, which is it's a place that's changing so quickly. Each time I come, India has changed. The previous version has vanished into the past. Certainly the last couple of books I've been writing about America, and I think some of the topics I'm writing about are quite distant to Indian audiences. I mean, I think the books that people cared about most here are my two earliest novels, which are both very strongly connected to India and the experiences of Indian people. So I am cooking one or two things that may be more interesting for Indian audiences, but I do hope people maybe go outside their comfort zone, and Indian readers will try and read some of these other books as well. But I accept they're not Indian themed. I mean, obviously the reason a lot of people used to leave, especially technical people, was because the money was elsewhere. And people like cultural people used to have to leave if they wanted to get international audiences. But one thing I'm certainly noticing in my own field, I said on stage, I walk into a bookstore now, and there are so many Indian writers who are very confidently writing for other Indians, and are describing their lives. They're not very interested in the way that they used to be in the glamour of abroad, because there's glamour here, there's more money here, there's more I think, self-confidence here, and I think that's a great thing to see. I have 2 small children and no time. I'm feeling very guilty. You've made me feel even more guilty because that website has been frozen in time for 2 years. I have so many things that I would like to put up on there, and I haven't had time to do anything to it. But I don't like the idea of just getting some unpaid intern or something like that. So I guess either I'll keep it as a frozen time capsule, or I'll have to find some time and space to update it. I'm most of the way through a novel, which is, inevitably my work always gets very mixed up with the kind of political and cultural currents of when and where I'm writing. And I have been very disturbed by the rise of the alt-right, and I've been very disturbed by certain kind of challenges to the idea of human rights. And I'm writing a story that is ultimately about this, but on the surface is a story about a writer who goes on a prestigious residency in Berlin, in Germany. And he wants to write a book about poetry, but he can't write this book, and all he's doing is binge watching a very violent American cop show. And out of this basic story, The Writer Who Can't Write, I dig into a lot of other things. I think it's funny. I have no idea really anymore, but I think it might be a funny book. I think I've now realized I've been online more of my life than I've not been online, and I got onto the internet very early and dived in very deep, and I have observed the way it affects my concentration and my ability to really focus, and so I think it is very necessary psychologically for myself that I cut off sometimes, that I relearn how to have deep, consistent focus on things, and it always feels very spiritually positive when I do that. I also I like the internet. Everybody's kind of, it's very easy to say how terrible it is, but it's wonderful to have this information resource. It's wonderful to be able to kind of make so many connections all the time, but that's just one mode of thinking. I am a believer in the other mode of thinking as well.